I think one thing that's drawing all of our sectors together today is uncertainty. We feel a huge amount of uncertainty. From our business model to our supply chain, it feels like the ground is shifting beneath us. So in this uncertainty, the question is, what is the one thing that leaders can do to move not only from survival, but to move that uncertainty into momentum? And what is the real driver behind innovation? Not just the kind that creates new ideas, but creates new markets. Today, I want to tell you a story, a true story, a story that reveals the core mindset behind the transformation of a company and how it can do the same for yours. How many of you have been impacted by AI? Raise your hands. How many of your organizations have been transformed because of AI? This is the story of Fractal AI. They not only deliver innovation, they deliver real-world impact. They have numerous clients that are Fortune 500 clients. But what's compelling about what they do is how they utilize AI, from helping doctors predict disease to helping executives in the boardroom make quick decisions. Their journey is a lesson for all of us of how to align innovation with real-world impact. Their story starts in 2010. The company had already been around for a decade, and they had fantastic products, great technology, but growth was slowing. They had slower acquisition of deals. So they started to ask this question: are we making the right products for our customer? And their real shift happened when they started to focus on the customer's challenge even more than the technology itself. Many of us have this challenge. We're too busy focused on creating the best product that we forget to ask, are we building the right product for our customer? This is the difference between being craft-centric versus client-centric. Being craft-centric is focusing inward, focusing on the product, focusing on the technology. Being client-centric is focusing outward on the client problems, and this is where they had to move to. When we're in crisis and when we're in uncertainty, we tend to double down on the product, on our own internal perfection, when we really should be asking, well, is this product relevant to our customer? So the question we need to ask is, what is the fastest way I can solve my customer's challenge? Fractal heard this loud and clear. So they decided to focus on tailoring all their existing products. For an entire year, they took a huge risk. They would not take on any new clients. They would only work with their existing clients to tailor and adapt those products to suit their needs. Even their co-founder said, "We were so focused on building what we thought was valuable, we forgot to ask what was valuable to the customer." And the results were incredible. Their Net Promoter Score jumped from 30 to 70. Revenue soared. Focusing from the internal and reshifting to the external enabled them to strengthen their client relationships. They even built some great technologies like QXR, which enables doctors to detect COVID cases even before a patient shows symptoms. This is another AI tool, Congentic Personalization, which enables companies to analyze data to understand each individual customer. They even applied their AI for good, applying it towards traffic accidents, saving lives in certain regions by 71%. So what is the takeaway from all of this? It's that focusing on the customer's challenge and their value has great results. In crisis, innovation only lasts when we focus on the customer's challenge. The reality is that progress is outward. Fractal recognized this, and they deeply listened to their customers, which strengthened their products. The lesson here is simple but profound. When customer success is your North Star, you don't just build great products. You ignite innovation that lasts. I want everyone in the room to do one last activity. If you can all stand up, please. I have someone incredible to welcome to the stage right now, and I would love for you to give him a warm welcome. He is one of the most influential members in AI today. He's an incredible leader. We have together the CEO of Fractal Analytics himself coming to the stage, Pranay Agrawal.
Thank you, Vanessa. That was very kind of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Copenhagen. I am so excited and honored to be speaking to the who's who of corporate leadership in Europe. And we're going to speak about how do we convert this AI excitement and buzz into enterprise performance. And before we go there, I want to talk a little bit about where we are in this journey of AI and how did we get here. All right? So in all of the buzz and hype around AI, we probably missed this piece of news here, that last year, the Nobel Prize in Physics was awarded to Geoffrey Hinton and Hopfield for their contributions to the field of artificial intelligence. And then the Nobel Prize in Chemistry was awarded to another AI company, DeepMind, which was co-founded by Demis Hassabis. Now, back in 2013, Geoffrey Hinton sold his company called Artificial Neural Networks, ANN, to Google for about $45 million. It was a company with Geoffrey Hinton and two other people, no revenue, no product, and Google bought them to improve their AI capabilities. And one of the first things that Geoffrey Hinton was tasked to do was to purchase DeepMind. And DeepMind was a company founded by Demis Hassabis, and this company was essentially training software to play video games. What happened next was that the first thing that Google made DeepMind do was to optimize its electricity consumption. And here is where we start to see the practical implications, from the technology to the transformation. By applying AI technology to their electricity consumptions in data centers, they were initially able to take it down by 15%, and by some reports, eventually down by 40%. Now, data centers consume about 3% of the world's electricity, and that consumption is going to continue to increase as the amount of AI that we use goes up. And you can see what a big impact this is making on one company, but then it's going to make on the world. The big thing in 2022, DeepMind released AlphaFold. What they essentially did was used AI to predict the protein structure of about 200 million possible proteins in this world. For context, before this, each protein discovery was about one PhD worth of work. And this is phenomenal because most diseases in the world are some kind of a protein. And being able to figure out the protein structure and understanding what other protein or other molecules could interact with those proteins to prevent the growth of those proteins is a transformation in the way drugs are discovered and the impact that it'll have on healthcare. I dare say that with the help of AI, we should find a solution for cancer and Alzheimer's diseases, which have been haunting us for so long. And I want to take the next example, which Vanessa alluded to. One of the biggest sources of diseases in South Asia is tuberculosis. About 25% of the world's tuberculosis is found in South Asia. Back in 2016 or 17, we spun out Cure.ai as a subsidiary. And what Cure does is that it has used artificial intelligence on X-rays to diagnose X-rays for tuberculosis as well as lung cancer in a few seconds at $1 a scan, and doing it at 99% accuracy. For perspective, with the best of the technologies, today, about 25% of the time, radiologists miss something on your X-ray. Now look at the application of this. The government of Philippines wanted to address the tuberculosis problem in their country, and they had installed X-ray machines in vans and send them to villages, where they would take the pictures of the villages, but then they didn't have radiology, so those images would go back to the city, and it would take 6 weeks to come back with a diagnosis, by which time my disease could progress further, I could give it to someone else, or I may not show up after 6 weeks to collect my results. Now Cure, the AI software, is embedded into the machines. As soon as the X-ray is taken, a diagnosis is out there for the patient, and the patient's told that they either need to go see a specialist or they can come back after a year. In some cases, even a medication is handed out. Cure today has impacted 25 million lives, diagnosing those patients for potential tuberculosis, lung cancer, and potentially other diseases in the future. What I want to say over here is that the age of AI has begun, and it will surpass the internet, mobile, and the cloud revolution, all of it combined. Before we go on to seeing how we can apply it to our business, I want to take a little bit of time to just understand this a little deeper, because there are just so many terms that are thrown around all the time. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, and so on and so forth. But in a simple sense, if we were to understand it, there is basically two kinds of artificial intelligence programs that we're talking about. One that takes in structured data and unstructured data and makes certain predictions. What will be the demand for this product? Or does this X-ray have signs of a disease? And what we've heard of most in the last 2 years is the second type of AI, which is called generative AI. You give a command to the algorithm, and it produces text for you. It produces images for you, videos and sounds for you. In a simple sense, back in 2012, this was transformational. You started feeding images of cat to a software and say what it is, and it would reply cat. And today, you type cat, and the software gives you back images of cat, right? And these two technologies combined, discriminative AI plus generative AI, together, they are transforming our world. One of the really incredible things about this is the pace of the change. And all of this timeline over here is just 2 years old. In 2022, we had ChatGPT. And think of it, these are pre-training programs. What you have done is that you have trained an algorithm on a vast body of text, and now that algorithm is able to give you answers based on that text. They're able to predict the next set of words and give you very, very good answers to any questions that you ask based on the data that has been trained on. Think of it like a high school student. The next step is reasoning and planning. And these algorithms are getting very deep into the domain. Think of them like PhD students, university graduates. They're also able to reason and provide the logic behind the responses and solve certain problems. And now the third world, which I'm sure all of you have heard of it, is the world of agents or agentic AI. And think of them as a working professional, which is now using the knowledge of the pre-training and the reasoning, etc., and taking decisions for you, and in many cases, they have agency to take action for you as well, right? And therefore, the term agentic AI. So what I'd like to say is that the era of pre-training is kind of over now. And we are now in the realm of AI agents that can think, reason, plan, and act on our behalf side by side with the humans. I want to now switch your attention to why this is so important for us as the human race. And here's a chart that I want to bring your attention to. These are the projections of the population. Okay? EU, the population is expected to decline by about 5 to 6% by the end of this century. But the next chart is really shocking. China's population is expected to halve by the end of the century. Just let that sink in. The world's factory, their population is going to decrease by half by the end of this century. That is the prediction. Why is this important? Well, if we look at the last roughly 100 years, the GDP growth that we've had is about 3.8% worldwide. About 1.8% of that comes from productivity, new technology and stuff like that. 2% comes from population growth. If population growth is going to come to zero and eventually go into a decline, what is going to fill that gap in our GDP growth, which is what we have relied on to drive better standards of living and better quality of life for all of us? And we feel that technology is AI. AI is going to come in to help us bridge that productivity gap, that growth gap, which is imminent due to the drop in levels of population growth. So the question is, how do we now convert this AI excitement to enterprise performance? I think it's really important to understand that AI is just the tool. It is an ingredient, right? but the real outcome is what you as a business want to drive. And if you look at any business, here are the 5 things that all of us are trying to do. And we believe that AI is going to have a dramatic impact in each one of these areas. Every company wants to build better products and wants to do them faster. Every company wants to engage seamlessly with their customers, with their audiences, whether it's about communicating the product or whether it is about engaging for customer service, for sales, and so on. Everyone wants to improve operational effectiveness, whether that is in the area of manufacturing and logistics, whether it's in the area of pricing, promotion, supply chain, risk, and so on. We're all executives here. We want to drive better executive decisions. We want data, we want insights, we want recommendations so that we can make better decisions, and we want to build a sustainable future. We don't want to be disrupted, we want to be the ones that are disrupting. And AI can help you in each of these areas. Let me share just a few examples. Large CPG company, as you know, CPG companies drive a lot of their growth through product innovation. And typically, it's a fairly long-drawn process. You start with the process of creating a concept, and that can take several months. Then you test the concept, then you build the product, and so on. Using AI, this company has trained this application, this algorithm, using market research data, using consumer feedback from social media, past research, and all of that stuff together coming through various sources. And now the concepts are auto-generated. So the concept creation, which used to take 3 months, is now a matter of a few weeks. And that is precious in the whole new product innovation generation cycle. So you're now able to bring out many more products to the market to test. You're able to do it a lot faster. I'll take the second example here of engaging with your audience seamlessly. There's a large asset management company with a few hundred salespeople engaging thousands of financial advisors. And we know how difficult it is in the financial products world. Hundreds of products, complex products, very little time with my customer. How do I communicate what is the right product for you? Using AI, can understand the customer better, understand their needs, their preferences better, and utilize that limited time that the salesperson has to make a more effective conversation with with the financial advisor. As a result of implementing this, just in the first year, they were able to generate an additional $600 million in assets under management. Another example here is in the area of logistics and supply chain. Consumer product companies need to get their products on shelf on time, and there are many issues in that. Your demand forecast can be off, your transportation can be off. Using AI, this company is able to predict the demand more accurately. It's able to identify risks in its manufacturing and its transportation network, and as a result, is going to get 10% improvement in its on-time delivery to shipment. And then the last example here is about making better executive decisions. So imagine as a sales leader or as a salesperson, if I had information on my hand every day, every moment as to how my products are performing, where am I doing well, where am I not doing well, which promotions are working, what pricing is working, you have the opportunity to redo your decisions in real time as opposed to waiting a month before the results come out. So what are some of the leaders doing? And this one is very inspiring from JP Morgan. They spend about 10% of their revenue on technology, okay? And that is split between 2 areas, run the bank and change the bank. The run the bank portion is still larger, but the change the bank portion is growing much faster than the run the bank component. So the company is investing in new technology, cloud, digitization, AI, all of that, and that portion is growing much faster because that's where the future is. So I want to finish by saying, what can CEOs, what can C-suite, what can the leaders do? How do we embrace and make this transformation? Because remember, the technology is only a tool. It is changing very rapidly. It will continue to change very rapidly. However, we need to plan for the business. Number 1, reimagine every business process. Whether that's product development, whether that's sales, it's marketing, it's manufacturing, whatever it be. Reimagine that process to say, what might a new process look like? how could we drive better outcomes for our customers, for our employees, for our suppliers, for our shareholders, and the communities that we work in. Number 2, reskill the workforce for the age of intelligence. There is a lot of buzz out there, but there is equally a lot of confusion and certainly a great deal of fear. We need to embrace the technology, and the way to do it is to reskill. And number 3, govern for adoption. Because we all know that great technology, if not adopted, does not give us the results. And that means working on what will enable the workforce to embrace and to deploy these technologies, at the same time ensure that we're using it ethically, morally, in a manner that works for everyone. Thank you very much.